Hey everybody, and welcome to Bits of Board, where we're talking board games, miniatures, cards, and dice. My name's Michael, and today we're checking out a game by the name of Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, Part 1. Tidal Blades is a worker placement dice pool building game. Each player's worker, their hero, is a character taking place in the tournament, an event preparing would-be heroes to defend their island from the force of monsters awakened from the depths of the fold. Over the course of the game, players will complete challenges across different islands around the play area in an attempt to unlock new abilities, gain dice, and catch the attention of the judge, a wandering character charged with rewarding our players for their deeds over the course of the tournament, although it is mainly a victory points affair. Look, it was Tidal Blades' artwork and theme that really caught my attention with this one. They gave me very strong Final Fantasy X Kilika Island vibes, and the whole training a fledgling hero to fight an insurmountable monster thing, yeah, that was really doing it for me. So today I'm very excited to give you a look at how the game is played, and after that we'll come back and have a chat about my thoughts on the game as a whole. You ready? Let's dive in.
Tidal Blades has a very unique setup going on. There's no game board per se, but instead lots of little boards which make up the islands of the city of Naviri. Go ahead and place the islands and champion board in the formation scene here. We'll set up while I give you the tour. First, we have the City of Time, which is found in the center of the play area. It holds the challenge deck and the challenge pool, from which players will gain their challenges. Note that the challenge deck should not include the starting challenge cards, which will be distributed later during setup. This board also contains the round tracker, which represent the 4 days leading up to the evaluation of the tournament. 3 danger dice sit atop the days, white above day 1, yellow above day 2, and red above day 4. Next, we have the 3 islands where players will be training and completing their challenges. The Chronoseum, holding the stunt cards, Lamara Stadium, where our players will test their seafaring abilities for rewards, and the Droska Ring, containing the market deck and the market pool. Choose one of the islands at random, placing the judge standee in its designated space. Challenges completed on the same island as the judge will award 1 champion point. To the left of the City of Time, we have the Fold, where the monsters threatening Naviri will appear. On it, we have the Monster Invasion dice, used to resolve invasions at the end of each round. Finally, above all our islands, we have the Champion board, which will display each player's champion points. Now, Tidal Blades comes with a basic game and an advanced game. If you're playing the basic game, make sure to remove all advanced monster cards, challenge cards, and market cards from their decks. Return them to the game box. These can be identified by the flame symbol printed on the card. Players should each choose a character, collecting the character board, standee, action discs, character cards, hit tokens, secret goal cards, and story card of their character. The character board displays 4 traits, which will be measured over the course of the game. Spirit, which increases the effect of stunt cards. Focus, which increases the maximum number of dice that can be rolled in challenges or monster fights. Resilience, which increases the number of used dice that can be refreshed each round, and Synergy, which increases the number of character cards available to each player. The standee represents a player's character placed on the map. Action discs are placed on the map wherever a player takes an action. These remain until the end of the round and block other players from taking the same action. Character cards and secret goals represent unique and asymmetric powers and goals available to each hero. And finally, the story card gives a bit of thematic information, as well as a summary of the gameplay style encouraged by each player. Players should now randomly select one of their secret goals, returning the others to the game box. Place 2 of their action discs on the City of Time, one above the second round and the other above the fourth. Find their shell shield card, placing it face up near the player board with 2 shells on top. Draw 3 starting skills, choosing one and returning the rest to their skill deck, shuffled. Set each trait to their starting level, indicated by the green circle on each track. Take 2 white novice dice, 2 shells and 2 fruit into their supply. Place 1 hit token in the starting space of the challenge board, and then finally draw 3 of the starting challenge cards. Randomly determine the start player, giving them the first player marker, and then clockwise in turn order, give the next player 1 extra fruit, next 1 extra shell, and then the fourth player 1 extra of each. We place the round marker in the first round space, and we are now ready to play. The main objective of Tidal Blades is to obtain the most victory points scored at the end of the 4th round. Victory points can be gained through completing challenges, increasing trait levels, progressing on the champion board, achieving secret goals, and landing hits on monsters. The player with the highest total wins. Now, before we go ahead and move into the how to play section, I'd like to cover a few of Tidal Blade's core mechanics. Firstly, dice. A number of game activities utilize a player's dice pool in resolving. Players begin the game with 2 novice dice and can gain any number, discarding down to 6 at the end of their turn. When dice are rolled, they are spent and often moved to the spent dice area of a player's player board, no longer available for use until refreshed. Refreshing occurs at the end of each round, whereby a number of dice are refreshed and returned to a player's active dice area, equal to the player's resilience. Each dice includes faces representing the 4 traits of Tidal Blades. Novice dice have equal distribution of faces, as well as a wild symbol and a blank symbol, with the wild symbol counting as anything. These can be upgraded through 2 levels of progression, Initiate and Elite, following one of 2 pathways, each increasing the number of traits in their chosen specialization, either Spirit and Focus, or Resilience and Energy. The final level of dice upgrade, moving from elite level dice, are the Guild dice, which further specializes down to just one of the 4 traits, often containing multiple symbols on single faces. The most common events requiring a dice roll are challenges and monster battles. To resolve, a player must roll a number of dice equal to their focus, with possibility of this number being increased temporarily by 1 for each fruit a player is willing to spend. Monster battles are completed at the Fold, with challenges completed on one of the 3 main islands, depending on the location printed on the challenge card. Challenge cards themselves are kept in a player's supply and can be played as part of their action. When attempted, challenges must either be rolled against until either the challenge is completed or until the player chooses to withdraw. To complete a challenge, the player must roll their chosen dice in an effort to match the required challenge symbols, those with a solid outline. However, a player may also choose to attempt the broken line symbols or push-it symbols as well for even greater rewards. Should a player's dice match a symbol throughout their roll, they may set it aside and continue rolling with those remaining until the challenge is either completed or abandoned. The catch here is that for every roll the player makes, including the first, they must additionally roll the current round's danger dice, which may cause a player to lose one of the dice currently being used in the challenge. And guys and gals, this is before rolled results are resolved, with lost dice being returned to the main supply and not a player's spent dice area. As you can see, our players rolled one of the required symbols, so they can go ahead and set that aside, but we also have a negative result rolled on the danger dice, which means Dust is likely going to have to discard one of his dice. Now, a player is able to block this effect by moving one shell from the player's supply to their shell shield card. But the shield does have a maximum capacity of 6. That being said though, dice can be spent from the shell shield, with 4 shells able to set a dice to any face, and 6 shells being able to refresh 2 dice from a player's spent dice. Players will need to pay 1 shell for 1 X symbol, or 2 shells for 2 X symbols, noting that only 1 dice can be lost for either result. Should a player complete their challenge, they are greatly rewarded. Aside from potentially gaining 1 champion point if the judge is present on the island, for each trait symbol matched, the player will advance their hero's matching trait by 1 point, and then tuck the challenge card under their player board, indicating an improvement to one of 3 fighting styles that can be used to challenge the monsters. If a player was unable or unwilling to complete their challenge, they still gain levels for traits successfully matched, just not any push-it symbols matched. Then after being abandoned, the challenge card is moved to the discard pile. Now, monsters will cover as part of our game overview, so we'll leave that there. Let's instead forge ahead and take a look at the game flow and how Tidal Blades is actually played. The game is split into 4 rounds, where players will take turns moving their hero and an action marker into a space somewhere on the board. If they've already taken an action this turn, the player leaves behind the placed action disc, preventing other players from utilizing the same action if it was a closed action space. That is any space that does not have the broken outline. After all players have utilized each of their available actions, the end of round is triggered. First, the monster invasion dice is rolled. On a 1 to 5, the monster at the inner reef invades, and on a 6 to 8, the monster at the fold's edge invades. On invasion, all players without a hit marker on the invading monster suffer the monster's penalty. Then, all monsters advance 1 space along the fold. If a monster was to move from the inner reef, it would instead flee, with again all players without a hit marker suffering the consequences. This time, losing 1 of their accumulated champion points. Here, if there were any hit markers on the fleeing monster, these would be removed and placed next to the fold for scoring at the end of game. Next, players would refresh dice from their spent dice, upgrading and moving 1 dice into the active pool for each point they have in their resilience trait. So here with Dust's resilience, he's able to refresh 2 dice. So we'd take these 2 novice dice and upgrade them to initiate. Here, Dust will choose to upgrade 1 in each of the 2 upgrade paths. From there, they would be refreshed and moved to his active dice, ready for use next round. Players then collect their standee and action tokens, move the judge to the next island in clockwise order, and finally, the player leading on the champion board will place 1 of their hit markers in the leader bonus section, gaining a bonus point at the end of game. The round marker advances, players collect any action markers now unlocked, and the next round begins. On their turn, a player may choose to take an action on any of the action spaces currently available. The chosen space has to be empty of action discs unless the chosen action is an open action space, one of the ones with a broken border. These are available to any number of players each round. After a player chooses a space, the player takes its associated action, then takes the island's bonus effects. Actions are displayed within the action circle, while bonus effects are outlined under the island's name. The Citadel of Time is the main island in the center of the play area. Here, players can visit to gain challenge cards into their supply or refresh the dice in their spent dice pool. In gaining challenges, whenever a player takes a challenge card, it is immediately refilled from the challenge deck. This allows players to see what comes up before the next card is chosen. We also have the Chronoseum, where players will gain new dice and draw stunt cards. Lamara Stadium, where players will demonstrate their seafaring abilities, gaining rewards based on the position of the boat's standee as it goes around the track. Then we have the Droska Ring, where players will gain resources and visit the marketplace. Each of these islands has an arena, which means after placement has been resolved, players are able to attempt a challenge card that they've gained over the course of the game, so long as it of course matches the island being visited. A player chooses the dice to be rolled and attempts to resolve the challenge, just as we described earlier. The final island which can be visited is the Fold, and it's here that players may fight existing monsters or lure new ones out to fight if one is not. We'll cover monsters in just a sec, but first I need to mention that at any time during a player's action, they can choose to play a single stunt card, those cards that can be gained from the Chronoseum. These offer powerful one-time bonuses powered by a player's spirit and will be extremely useful in preparing a player to take on the monsters and tougher challenges. Monsters are like bigger challenges that are shared amongst players. They have more trait symbols to be matched, for monsters instead called hit locations, but do not need to be fully resolved in one turn. Players are allowed to defeat monsters as a joint effort. Now, some hit locations have requirements, needing specific upgraded dice to match, or even multiples of the same symbol to be rolled on a single turn, but often the rewards balance the difficulty. Like resolving challenges, players may choose dice up to their focus level, eating fruit for any additional dice they would like to use. But monsters are extremely difficult, so to aid in this extra difficulty, players can gain even more dice than they have available if they have experience in a fighting style that the monster is weak to. Here you can see the giant mud crab is weak to the same fighting style that is used mostly at the Chronoseum, and so players who have completed matching challenges will likely perform better. At level 1, players will gain 1 bonus novice dice. At level 2, players gain 1 bonus initiate dice. At level 3, they gain 1 bonus elite dice. And finally, at level 4, a player is able to choose 1 guild dice. The dice chosen is temporarily taken from the supply and added to the roll, exceeding a player's focus and fruit without penalty. The rolled dice pool is of course combined with the current round's danger dice, and the fight proceeds as normal. After resolution, players roll until they either defeat the monster or choose not to continue, with players' hit symbols being placed on any locations they match. And then finally, once the fight is resolved like challenges, they increase their traits based on the results. Should a player cover the monster's last hit location, the monster is defeated and removed from the fold, with all placed hit markers collected off to the side. All players having had a hit marker on the monster would gain the reward as printed on the card, with the player landing the final blow gaining the kill bonus. Finally, whether a monster is defeated or not, all dice used by the player are returned to the supply rather than a player's spent dice pool. They'll need to return to the islands to recover before fighting again. And guys and gals, that's pretty much it. After the 4th round, the game is over, with final points being awarded as follows. Players gain the points displayed on each of their completed challenges, plus 2 bonus points for every full set of each of the 3 fighting arts. Players gain points as displayed around each of their trait tracks. They score points for their rank on the challenge board. First place gets 3 points, second 2 points, and third 1 point. Then gain points for the highest value reached or passed on the champion board, noting here that only the first player may receive the 10 points. Players score 1 point for each hit token on the champion board leader track, points for the secret goal if completed, and then finally points for any hit tokens on undefeated monsters and those placed beside the board. The winner is the player with the most points, with the tiebreaker going down to the player furthest on the champion board, and if still tied, players share the victory.
Alright, so there we have it, guys and gals, a bit of an overview of what you might expect from a game of Tidal Blades. Now, I didn't really go through everything. As you saw there, each island has a number of different actions associated, but they're all very easy to decode. Some show dice, so you get that dice. Some show fruit, you get that fruit. I didn't actually talk much about fruit, did I? Yes, your hero can eat it to allow for additional dice to be rolled, but it's also the main form of currency at the market, so you can buy shells and other bits and pieces. But it's not really that kind of game where everything needs to be spelled out in order for you to play. There are a few nuances like how challenges and monster battles work, but other than that, this is a pretty familiar style of worker placement, which to me is a really good thing because those other elements of gameplay, the aforementioned challenges and monsters, and even the way champion points are earned, these are going to require the main bulk of your thinking power. Now, this is a medium weight game for sure, so not a headachy amount of thinking power, but a portion of your brain to say the least. So it's a worker placement game, however they want to guss it up with your hero running around placing action tokens and stuff. In the first round, you're going to have 2 worker placement actions each. Second and third round, 3 actions each, and fourth round, 4 actions. Essentially, each player is going to have 12 options to do something on the map. Not a lot, right? This basically means 2 things. 1, pretty quick game. Number 2, you're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do each game. Now, I've heard that this is a hallmark of good worker placement games that leaves you wanting more, and this is especially true for Tidal Blades. But let's break it down even more. At a minimum, first round there's going to be 1 monster out. Second, third, and fourth round, you're going to see 1 more. At least. Each round, one of these monsters is going to invade, causing players to suffer the invasion effects. So if you want to play it safe from all of these attacks, you're going to have to spend a minimum of 5 turns attacking monsters to get your hit tokens out. 7 turns remaining for the rest of the game? It's probably too little, right? But this game doesn't force you to play it safe. In fact, I don't think that's what it wants you to do at all. This is the type of game that rewards bold and dangerous play from its heroes. A bit of push your luck. Sure, let a few invasions take place. Deal with the consequences, all the while training for that one big turn where you get in there and you take that monster down. Train, improve, and hit as hard as you can. I think that is the best strategy here. Take advantage of those challenges. Even if you're not 100% sure you can complete them successfully, they don't actually require an attempt, so they're incredibly time efficient for the improvements they grant, allowing players to combo them with actions they do actually feel they need. Remember, you are fledgling heroes here, and this is the beginning of their story, so you're not all powerful yet. This is pretty much my favourite thing about the game. Tidal Blades really makes you feel like the hero at the table, experiencing the story of this wonderful game world. And what's more, each hero plays unique, having their own strengths and weaknesses. So I mentioned the world building, and yes, there is a lot of beautiful art and flavour text here to experience if you want to get into it. I feel like this is going to be a wonderful series if it takes off, and I'm definitely looking forward to supporting. Production-wise, everything is top-notch. Kind of wishing I went for the deluxe edition in the Kickstarter, but what was, if I remember correctly, a 5th player and some 3D fruit and shells, I'm probably more happy saving the room from an empty box. The only real complaint I have here on this one is the separate boards. I mean, why? I would have been happy with one board showing where all the components are supposed to go, rather than me having to manually space out everything and fit everything in. And guys, if you're one of those board gamers out there that needs everything to be exactly right, good luck with this one. Look, that's nothing though. This is a great game to have in the collection. Nice theme, beautiful artwork, a top-notch gaming experience. I'm just hoping we get to see more from this story. I'm kind of going to need a part 2 here, guys, so definitely try and make it happen. Alright. That is enough from me, guys and gals. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and do all the things that you guys can do to help this channel grow. But besides that, we are done. So, as always, my name is Michael. This is Bits of Board. We'll catch you next time.